Hey Passion, let's take a look at your final project here. There are some noticeable improvements from the last time we took a look at this. The addition of some furniture, some elements on the ground plane, and a definite increase in detail. I think helped the environment feel just much more interesting. I just felt so plain before, and I think that even with the simple addition of a kind of a very kind of simplistic structure like the table, a little bit of color contrast on the floor, which was a great choice, by the way. The blue and the yellow work great together. It just makes the room feel a lot different. I think the fireplace also helps to break up the wall space more, and I would just say in general it feels, a lot better than the last time we saw it. There's a lot of nice little touches going on in the room. I love the painting above the mantle, above the fireplace. I think that the fireplace itself, the border along it, was a nice touch. It's got a great texture on it, good color, and just kind of an interesting, simple design to it, which was not something I was expecting. Although I'm not sure what I was expecting, but it really worked out, I think, quite nicely. The way that you kind of brought everything together on that. The room itself has good perspective, and I would say the majority of the elements that are in the room have very good perspective applied to them. So all the additions as well look like they're conforming to the perspective that the room would have. But it does run into a lot of the issues that we saw before. You've still got perspective issues going on. There still is a certain amount of flatness to some elements, and there is a noticeable lack of kind of things like shadows and variation in kind of value in some of these areas. I'd really like to see more of a shadow underneath the table that you have here. I think you could definitely get a darker value underneath there altogether. I think having this kind of move back into space so that you have a kind of a better sense that this is actually set into the wall, and then having the appropriate values of that being done can help things out, and even a little bit of some cast shadow behind the curtains and beside the frame of the painting to show that it has a little bit of depth to it. They're needed because right now I think that's one of the things that makes things feel more three-dimensional. It's not just the perspective, although the perspective plays a big role in that, but having cast shadows and having values change between the sides of things is what's going to reinforce that even more. So I think that's something that's still missing. I think texturally it seems to be getting that increase really helps it out to help with the variety within the scene, and I think the color has a nice amount of variety, and it stays fairly unified where you're really sticking with blues, reds, and yellows, and then the rest tend to be more neutral, which is great. And so it has a nice kind of tight feel to it in terms of the color, and in terms of texture we're seeing some reflective surfaces, some nice wood surfaces in place, but there's areas again where I actually see I wish we saw more kind of shading being done, or I wish the texture stood out a little bit more with some stronger values and things like that. So aside from some kind of minor but I think important perspective stuff and the value issue, it has a really nice kind of sense of kind of progression to it. I think you made a lot of very good choices from the last time that we saw it, and it ends up feeling more like a final, one that has varied components, a lot of varied components in place, but that come together, well. But I do think it needs to be pushed more, although definitely not as much as we saw before.